I just got back from a funeral. What I learned about retirement planning. It's the same old story every single time. You try and go outside. So I told you last month that my wife's brother, oldest brother, died. The first of 9. Just a tragic situation. He coughed up some blood at work, went to the hospital, and never came back. 2 days later, he's gone. Not good, horrible, just crazy. It's funny too, because when he was in the emergency room or whatever, ICU, he's talking to his guys at work. All right, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. And the guys at work are like, dude, we got it, man. You just get healthy. And then that never came to be, which sucks. So anyway, today is in Savannah. Just got back from Savannah. It was more of the reception. It wasn't a real funeral, no open casket or anything like that. We cremated. Well, I did, but they cremated him, and we had the reception today. And just a great guy. This guy's just a legend, and just the people down there. This is just an employee, the people he worked with and whatnot. Because he's such a hard worker. My brother-in-law, Matt, and my wife gave the eulogy, and she just crushed. And it was just fantastic. Not a dry eye in the house, but as a Christian, we know he's in a better place. Just the fact that I can't knock her up to my wife and say, "Hey, he's in a better place." You don't do that. But at the end of the day, if you're a Christian, you're just like, and his fiance's mom, and his fiance is Jamaican. It's funny because she's a tiny little older Jamaican lady, probably 5'2", probably, I don't know, 50, 55, something like that. And he's like a 6'4", pale Irish guy. She's like 5'2", he's like 6'4", 250. It's just funny. Anyway, her mom sang, and it's just, I can't remember the name of the song, but it was so good. It was fantastic. And it was fantastic. Anyway, so during the reception part, I just talked to some other guys who worked with my brother-in-law, Matt. And this one guy was saying, yeah, my dad, he never lived long enough to enjoy his pension. He died at 69. He just kept working. Never lived long enough to enjoy his pension. And he goes, he just could never stop. I said, dude, I hear that all the time. That happens all the time with men. Their whole lives are just, I gotta get there. Then they never think they're there. They always think, well, maybe I'm not there yet. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe not. And then they just literally work themselves to death is what it is. And we're talking about my brother-in-law, Matt, because he's such a hard worker. He just on his deathbed, he was contacting, he didn't know he was about to die because he didn't know, but it turns out that's what he was. He's contacting his coworkers and saying, hey, make sure you do this, make sure you do that, make sure you do this. You got to make it. It's like sad, dude. And it's just a nature that men of certain generations had, and it's very wonderful, but your companies abuse that, man. Your companies abuse that, making some bacon, if you wonder what that noise is. And I don't say abuse like it's a quid pro, whatever, quid pro quo, where, they give you and you give, they give you a salary and you give them their labor. I get it. But the facts are the company doesn't care about, and this isn't a slight on companies. It's just the way they do business. They have to do it like this. A company is not a living entity. It's a corporation. A company is not a person. It cannot have feelings. It's an inanimate object, like a firearm. A firearm doesn't have feelings. It doesn't know who you are. It doesn't know anything. A firearm can't do anything without a person in charge of the firearm. Same with a company. A corporation doesn't care about you. The only thing a corporation does is provide the legal documentation for you to have employment. That's it. Now, does your boss care about you? Sure, absolutely. Maybe not, I don't know. Does your coworkers care about you? Sure, maybe not. But the corporation doesn't. The company has one goal and one goal only, is to stay in existence, i.e. to be profitable enough to stay in existence. That's it. That's the only thing you can do. If you're in the way of that, because I hate to say it, you're not pulling your weight, they're going to fire your ass. That's just a fact. And if you're doing something to make them profitable as a full-time employee, FTE, profits per FTE, is a basic rule of corporate things here. What's your profits per FTE, full-time employee? If you're a full-time employee and you're making profits for the company, well, the people who run the company, own the company, love you until you start making profits for them. And if you're dead, you're not making profits for them. So what happens the minute you die? What happens? They're going to put up a thing on Indeed.com or whatever. I don't. Is Monstrous.com still around? I don't know. They're going to put up a thing that says "Help Wanted." We need a guy to do what this guy was doing, and there's nothing wrong with that. A company needs someone in that role. They don't care if it's Matt. They don't care if it's Jim Bob. They don't care. As long as the person in that role is profitable, that's all they care about. It's not capitalism. It's not socialism. It's nothing. It's just the way it is. But you shouldn't, you as a human being, especially as a man, should not sacrifice yourself for that inanimate object that cares not one iota about you. And I hate to say your boss doesn't care one iota about you relative to him. And I got to be careful there because there's plenty of bosses who do. I get it. But at the end of the day, if your boss goes and you don't go, you know, your boss is going to sit there and say, hey, I'm glad I went, not you. I mean, there are good people like that, grant you, but still, your boss has to take care of himself. This is human nature. You got to take care of number one, which is you. That's not selfish. That's just human nature. There's only one person in the history of the world who did not do that to like most people do, like all people do. And that ain't you or me. That's Jesus. And we aren't Jesus. Especially if you got a family, especially if you got mouths to feed and stuff, you've got to take care of number one because your number one is your family. But if you're taking care of number one so much, taking care of your company so much that you now are losing your ability to take care of number one, you are sacrificing yourself for the company. And your company will not sacrifice itself for you. It's always a one-way street. And this is not an indictment on the company. They just can't because you are one of many. There's so many other people that rely on that company to stay in business. They can't sacrifice themselves for you. They can't. So why should you sacrifice yourself for the company? Obviously, if you need the money, you should. But what if you don't need the money? Have you ever even checked to see if you need the money? Anyway, I hear this. I've been doing financial planning since 1998. I've heard this so many times. My dad died before he could retire. My dad retired, and 4 days later, he's dead because he just worked himself to death, literally. It's a horrible thing. It's a tragedy. Don't let that be you. And again, if you need the money, I'm not saying just go freaking punch your boss and quit. I'm just saying, how do you know you can't? You know, if you're enjoying it and your wife's content with you enjoying your work, more power to you. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're not enjoying it, dude, and it's literally stressing you out and it's causing you to gain weight and all this stuff, what are you doing? Love your thoughts. God bless. Pray for all people who are just dealing right now with the loss of a loved one. Obviously, the loved one's in a better place. Obviously, it's the loved one's family who's worse off because they're sad, they're emotional. Obviously, we want to pray for the loved one as well, for God to reward them with the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant." But it's the family of the loved one who's just sad, and just pray for them. God bless. We'll see you.